Hey everybody, this is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Yak with Mac. This week, I got to talk to HR partner Irma Velasquez Pileski, and we got into so many different great topics. You as a leader, how do you hold on to your best people? Listen in. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Yak with Mac. And I told you we are going to keep having just these outstanding guests to really inspire you and to give you some great advice on leadership. And I've got a terrific guest today. I'm going to get right to her. I want to introduce Human Resources Partner Irma Velasquez Pileski to the podcast. Hey, Irma. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Awesome. It is fantastic. And thank you so much for reaching out. It was unbelievable to connect with you a few weeks back, and you have so much to offer, and I can't wait to get to it. I want, though, the audience to hear about your career journey, and you can go as far back as you'd like, and there's so many lessons along the way. I can't wait to talk about a few of those. So tell us a little bit about your career journey.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a privilege to be here talking to you today and share my story with you. So I've been with the company going on almost 18 years. Where I first started initially with the company was actually with Metro PCS in Northern California in Sacramento, tiny little market. And I started off as an administrative assistant for the office based on just my background with office admin, but I was also previously a recruiter before with Universal Studios in Los Angeles. I was able to step in, get my foot in the door with Metro PCS, and also add in, some HR responsibilities right away, and moved in to my first position about 6-7 months right afterwards as a human resources coordinator. And that's really what sparked the trajectory of my HR career journey, if you will. And since then, I've been in 3 different roles in human resources. But based on that time, my territory has expanded. Where I started supporting 120 employees, that expanded to also supporting San Francisco market, close to 300. And including the Pacific Northwest with our prepaid dealer teams. And, going to today, I support almost 600 employees for the Northwest and Southwest Metro by T-Mobile prepaid teams. And I got to tell you, it's been such a fantastic journey. It's been a wild ride, always learning something new, always pivoting, adjusting, thinking of what can I do differently, from the year before. Because I think many people think that, hey, I've been in human resources for almost 18 years. Is it the same? And absolutely, it's not. It changes day by day. It just really depends on what's going on in the business, how I can best support the business, our employees, and so forth. And within my journey, I've had an opportunity to also take advantage of our tuition reimbursement, to really think about how do I expand not just my own career, but personal educational development to add into what I do professionally and personally as well. So I've had the opportunity to achieve my bachelor's degree. And currently, as of today, I'm actually 10 days away from earning my master's degree.
Oh,
Thanks,
wow.
yeah, thanks to T-Mobile, I've had the honor to accomplish that.
That's a that calls for a big celebration. Congratulations. That is
Thank
fantastic.
you.
So how do you do it? And I want to almost go back and ask you a little bit of some lessons along the way that you may have had or seen, because it appears to me that in each step, your responsibilities just grew and grew and grew. And it sounds like I love what you said about how you learn every year. Hey, what am I going to do differently? What would be some lessons and some advice that you would give for folks out there that might be on that same journey as you were?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, we all start somewhere new. We all start at the beginning, right? When we jump into a new role, we're not going to know everything right away. We're not going to be perfect, and we cannot expect that of ourselves. And I share that because, with my supervisors, I've had multiple supervisors. Each of them have mentored me. Each of them have really trusted in me to, work on something. And, if I made a mistake, hey, let's talk through it. What did I learn? And also asking the right questions like, hey, can you help me understand, how you would have gone about this differently, or what would have been the better approach? So I'm very observant, but I also like to ask a lot of questions. Even to today, I need to make sure I get clarity, because naturally as human beings, a lot of us question ourselves, right? There's doubt, and the best thing to do is just ask for that feedback, be open to it, and learn from either good, bad, or indifferent from those experiences. And that's what has helped me. But really, the mentorship, the one-on-one discussions, not being afraid to raise my hand if I don't understand anything, or hey, if I have the bandwidth, I'm raising my hand to volunteer. I really would like to dig in, to learning more about analytics, or I would like to learn more about benefits. I try to plug into different aspects when I'm available and have the ability to do so. And by asking that and raising your hand, I've had the honor and privilege, really the support of my managers to support me with that. That way it can expand my ability to learn more and to grow and really look at and reflect, okay, this is what's happened before in the past, and I'm able to now reflect and implement that today.
Wow. That is such an interesting and just a great point, because a lot of times through our career, we might ask a question or two when something might have went off a little bit, and then we kind of just keep it moving. It sounded like you wanted to stay in that space and, hey, let me really learn about, hey, what I might have missed or what I can do better, and let me hear it from the leader's point of view. I think that is just awesome advice. I really want to take advantage of your knowledge on a couple of things, because I know you work a lot with a lot of leaders, and you really up on what the workforce looks like and feels like today. And I've been saying this for a while now. I really feel like just our whole culture, our workforce culture, and not just at T-Mobile, but everywhere, is changing right before our eyes. And so we've heard these three bad words, right? The Great Resignation. And it's become a real thing over the last couple of years, or especially in the last year. And so I really want to get your take on what is your take, first of all, just on the Great Resignation, and then more importantly, from your point of view, let's start to talk a little bit about what managers can do out there, leaders can do out there to prevent it from happening to them. So what's your take on the Great Resignation?
I've had many similar conversations with many people, both at T-Mobile, with peers and leaders, but also outside of work as well. Just different conversations, because I hear about this everywhere. Something to think about is, of course, what we've all kind of experienced in the last 2 years is the pandemic, right? But also just navigating through, those obstacles, those challenges. And really, if you dig in deeper outside of just our jobs and our professional, career, it's deeper than that on a personal level, to where it really has shaken up people to think and reflect like, hey, am I okay with this? Am I handling this okay? And it really takes a lot of self-discovery and self-reflection. In my opinion, where people are thinking about, well, we're always in the hustle and bustle. This is what we naturally are doing, prior to the pandemic. But with the pandemic, so many questions pop up, such as safety, our families, people with children, or even people taking care of elderly people, their families and parents as well. I can share from personal experience. I help take care of my mom as her guardian beneficiary, and she's in Southern California. It was very scary. And if you think about all those different, things, it becomes very stressful. We talk about mental exhaustion, just really goes up, the trajectory goes up. And really it comes down to people thinking, in my opinion, I believe it's, hey, is it worth it for me right now? What is the decision and choice I'd like to make, and how is this going to impact me? And that's a very difficult question for anybody in any position, at any point in time to really ask themselves, because you really have to dig deep. And I think that's what we've seen a lot is, hey, is this worth it for me right now with what I'm feeling and what I'm going through? And the decision is yes or no. And even if people, thankfully have, remain at their job, I feel like it's always still in the back of their head, right? We manage so much, we deal with so much. And as you know, in the front line, they help customers in person. And I've heard, and I can't imagine what they're, is going through their head all the time. Am I safe? Is the customer safe? The policies and guidelines and so forth. There's just so many different tangibles that people have to think more about and be more aware of. And I think it just comes down to really asking that question. Is my mental health, is, the impact with my families at home, or what I'm bringing back home, right? That stress. What am I giving to them? Is that enough? And I think that's what I've been seeing inside and outside of T-Mobile.
Yeah, you said a lot there, and so and now if I add the stress of now being the leader, and maybe I'm going through something, but yet I still have got to dig in, right, with my people and really ask them a lot of questions to make sure that they're okay. What are some things leaders can do for their own mental health so that they're not carrying that burden all the time? Because the last thing you want is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a retail store. It can be an office. It could be a team like mine of 8 trainers. If I was to lose 2 trainers, I don't know what I would do. The workload is so heavy. So what would be a couple of things, couple of practical things you think that leaders can do that they can securely carry that load?
Yeah, thank you, Kenny, for the question. I was thinking about this for the last several weeks, actually. One piece of advice I've given to other people is, how do you change your mindset? Because it really starts with your mindset and how you feel and how you show up to work every day, right? It can be negative or positive, and immediately that takes an impact on how you come and how that comes about to others. If I were to give some advice, it's thinking about how do I plug into something else that can help set you up for success, but also help you set up in that positive mind shift. It really takes not just concentration and focus, but to be diligent about it and actually take action, right? And also when you do that, if you're plugging into, say, a podcast or even, positive music, Spotify, whatever that is, there might be something that you might hear that one or two things that might capture your attention, and you think about, oh, wow, I can relate to that. How do I bring that to light in my personal life, in my professional life? And how can I share that to an employee? And I think that's where that vulnerability question comes to play,
Wow.
where
Yes.
leaders maybe think, oh, if I were to say this to somebody else, it might not come out the right way. But really, it helps start that conversation and engagement. And it sometimes can be surprising because I think a lot of us and leaders normally, we're so used to talking about the business, as we should be, right? Hey, what's going on today? What do we have, on our task, to do? What do we need to accomplish? And so forth as a team, right? But it takes that one moment just to check in with yourself first. How am I doing? How am I feeling today? And also be okay with checking in with others, and asking, hey, how are you today? How's your family? How was your vacation? And just really take the opportunity to connect with employee, human to human, not just leader to employee, but human connection is much more important today than ever, I think. And it just shows that empathy, and emotional intelligence and just connection, that, hey, my leader cares about me. My leader shared something that they heard, with me, and I'm going to remember that for the rest of the day or the rest of this week and talk about something different that brings that connection.
Irma, I love that. I want to stay on that for a second because I took a lot of notes when you and I spoke a few weeks back. And it was before we were about to have compensation conversations, right? Which hopefully by now everybody has had, right? you said something so interesting. It was great advice. I want you to expand on this because you're going there now. You said part of that conversation should be about celebrating the person. Talk a little bit more about that because even though we're past the compensation conversation, we still should be having syncs every month and just those daily conversations. What did you mean by that? Celebrating the person.
You know, I think because even myself, right? And a lot of employees, we show up to work, we do our work, we serve our customers or our clients and partners, and we know what we have to get done. And the question behind, the back of our heads is always, was I noticed? Was that one thing I did today appreciated? And we ask ourselves that question, and we can answer that ourselves, but sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes, hey, we want to know and feel that either, our manager or our leaders somewhere else recognize, like, hey, you did an outstanding job on this project, or hey, thank you, for your work and efforts today. I saw what you did out there. Just that small thank you can go a long way to make somebody feel like, wow, I was noticed. I was seen or I was heard on the call, even if I asked a very simple question, by voicing my question, saying something, right? People just need, just to feel like they're supported and celebrated. And that just like, it shifts an employee's mentality, that pat on the back of, all right, I got that support, I got that recognition, verbal or, written on appreciation zone. And it just excites them. It just ignites them. Like, all right, I'm ready to go some more. What else can I do that is going to be above and beyond? Or what's the next thing that I can offer up, to my team and my leaders? It just, it creates that positive impact, that positive mind shift for somebody else who we know, again, going back to what I said before, is we know what we need to get done. And we just need that peace of mind of, was I noticed? Did my leader see that? Did my leader appreciate it? That's what it comes down to, I feel like.
Irma, that is just some great advice. And now we boil that back down to the Great Resignation. If I'm even on the edge a little bit or even thinking about it, first, I think a good conversation of what you even talked about earlier, how you use the educational assistance program and talking about the so many great things that we offer as a company. But then even with that, sometimes this might even be more important, right? That leader has now celebrated me or noticed me and noticed that I actually am working hard and did something extremely well. I think it's just those little things that'll add up right to the big things that might make someone pause and say, you know what, I might have an opportunity over here, but I like what I'm seeing here where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. And it's interesting. I just completed a speed of trust training, and we had a couple of employees at the table where they've been given the opportunity because they were trusted by their leader to take on a bigger role, right, or more responsibilities. And that's part of that recognition, if you will, being recognized and being trusted to do something more than just in their job duties. That makes somebody feel like, wow, thank you, thank you for thinking of me, thank you for trusting in me. There's so many ways to really celebrate people more than just a thank you. And it just really takes something to think about, okay, how can I give back to my employee? How can I support them and provide to them?
That's awesome. I want to shift gears for 1 second, but it still ties in with this. I asked you a few weeks ago, what are some things you do to develop yourself? And your answer just blew me away. And it really caused me to pause for a bit. You said that you try to connect yourself to something outside of T-Mobile so that you can just bring something back to the table. Talk a little bit more about that and talk a little bit more about some specifics on that. What are some things that you have connected to outside of the company that's helped you develop?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to be very honest and transparent with before I share this is I was not in this mindset years ago, right? We talk about growth, professional and personal development. it took upon my spouse, my other half, my wife, to say, hey, I'd like to go to this Tony Robbins 4-day seminar. Would you like to come? And my reaction was, why do I want to go somewhere for 4 days, 12 hours a day, and take PTO to do something like that? And sometimes naturally we resist. We resist the questions or invitations of, is that good for me? Do I really need that? I don't know. And you know what? Sometimes it just takes that jump of being open to it, open-minded to it, and trying it out. Whether you like it or not, as long as you try it out, that's when you'll know. And I share that because that's kind of what started my personal development, shift the last 5 years, was plugging in to different things on personal development. I started reading, more books. I have a nice, little library that I go back to, and talking to my employees when I visit them at the stores, and sharing with them, so that they know, like, hey, here's some recommendations, and we talk about different books. I've also listened, to podcasts, whether it's on Spotify or Apple. And I say that because we are so used to kind of our daily routine, right? It becomes a habit. And, in order to make shift happen or see a change, you got to invest in yourself and your time to look at outside of that. And also looking for, what's my purpose? What am I passionate about? What more can I do? And I like to tell employees this from time to time, is you are more than just your job, right? Meaning, as I have this job, it doesn't mean that this is it and this is where I'm going to stay. Maybe 10 years ago I was in that headspace, and that's okay. We're ready when we're ready to do more and explore more, right? So personal workshops was something that I added. And also, volunteer work in the community. So that could be from Special Olympics, connecting with the diversity, equity, inclusion chapters, your local chapters, or Habitat for Humanity, where we helped, build and paint houses for a family, and inviting employees. So it's not just on my own doing, but it's inviting and opening up the doors for other people to have that experience as well. Has been, just really just has brought in more to where it's not just thinking of myself, but opening, that platform to others. And the other specific that I'll share with you, Kenny, is that I've achieved or become a personal group fitness instructor at a local gym. And I share this because it's something I've never thought of doing ever. But I was at a time in my career where I felt, stagnant. And we all get to that place where we become stagnant. And it's like, okay, where am I going with my career? What more can I do to really expand my own capability and challenge myself outside of my role? And I did that because it helped me with my communication skills. It helped me with my presentation skills, people skills. And I love talking to people, but in a different way, to help me really ask, more specific questions, learning how to build more relationships differently with people that I don't know, and being comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's why I took it upon myself to go in this routine. And everything that I do outside of T-Mobile or my job, I bring it back to light. I try to, connect the dots with positive influence in group fitness, but also with my teams, or when I'm doing, specific presentations, or one-on-one career development discussions, right? It all ties together. And I think that's important to think about, what more can I do to bring myself on a different level, and really explore past my horizons of my role, that I have now. And that's where I think all the little, sparks come to play for people when they do that, and actually take the chance and the leap of faith is what I call it, to try something new. But also, like I said earlier, to not expect it to be perfect. We're not always going to get it right, but that's what will help us learn.
Irma, I'm blown away by that, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons real quick why, and we'll get ready to wrap up. This has just been fascinating, but I know I'm going to get you back here to talk about some more stuff. But we've kind of been conditioned to always have that separation, right? That, oh, this is work Kenny, and this is play Kenny, and this is Kenny outside of, and that's just been ingrained in so many people's heads and hearts and minds for years and years and years. And you just weaved it all together, and it makes such perfect sense. Think about, being that instructor, how much you said it just helped you, that you brought back, whether it was just great presentation skills and things like that. Is it's really gives you a lot to think about, and to invite others. I love that, to invite others into that space with you. Again, we're conditioned. No, no, no. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna fraternize. I'm not gonna mingle. But just doing that with a purpose behind it, to something like, who wouldn't want to invite somebody to Habitat for Humanity, for a day or two, and feel just great about yourself doing that, and then think about bringing that person and seeing that person back in the workspace. That is just awesome. So you gave me some really things to live by, and it's all about leadership. I think that was just fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to say, how can we pay it forward, right? How can
Yeah,
we share this gift with others?
yeah.
Because maybe they need it at that time, maybe they don't. And it just makes that impact. You make that ripple effect by sharing and inviting others to the table. I love being able to do that. Hopefully, being able to get back to it this year. I'm really excited to do that.
No doubt. And preventing the Great Resignation takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and we should be trying some different things. And these are just the things you laid out today are just outstanding. I got to get you back. Is it okay if I reach
I
out to
would
you in a
love that.
couple of months and bring you back? Okay.
Absolutely. I'd love that. Who knows where I'll be by then? But yeah,
Well, you'll be
maybe like
here. Oh,
place in life, mindset, that's part of the life, right? You have different
absolutely.
experiences, and maybe we'll talk about something else, different
Yes.
example or scenario. And I'd love that. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to leave it there. Guys, share this, share this, share this. Such great advice. So this has been Kenny and Irma with the Yak with Mac. We will talk to you real soon. Thank you so much, Irma.
Thank you, Kenny. Take care, everyone.
Okay.